We ended up adding video, one, because I found out was everybody's number one regret was not having that video after the wedding.
One of the strategies could be to find like people just beginning or even college kids and kind of train them up.
I wanted to make sure that I have my own team.
We shot our first wedding in 2016.
We have 6 photographers and 4 videographers in our team.
Basically like attitude over everything.
If you want the experience, you most likely are going to be getting somebody that has a business already. Hey everybody, welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today I have Kayla Cummins with me. She is a force to be reckoned with in Texas. She has a photo and video team and is making some amazing content and all kinds of things when it comes to the wedding industry in Texas. So we wanted to chat with her a little bit more today about having a team. That's going to be the goal of our conversation today. So welcome, Kayla, and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Kayla Cummins. I am the co-owner, lead photographer, and CEO of Carhartt Photography based in Texas. And so we are a multi-6-figure wedding photo video company. We have, let's see. So we shoot about 50 weddings a year, but I don't shoot all of those myself. We have built out an associate team. And so from the front end and the back end, we are a team of 9. And we've been able to build an associate team in a way that has managed to stay boutique and not have that volume team feel. And so it makes us a little bit different.
Perfect. I'm excited to dive into all of that. So tell us a little bit about just your story of how you ended up owning your own business, being your own CEO. Did you have a prior life that was somewhere else before you ended up doing this? Tell us your accidental CEO story.
Yes. Yeah. So I, as far as photography, that's what I went to school for. I always wanted to be a photographer. It goes back a couple of generations, which is where the name Carhartt comes from, actually. So my grandpa was, my grandpa was kind of a hobbyist photographer. My dad was a hobbyist photographer who wanted to be professional. And then, so I grew up with like a dark room in my childhood home, and he was always kind of like hand painting photographs, working in printing, things like that. And so when I built my own business, I knew I wanted to attribute it to them. So I kept the name Carhartt, which is my maiden name. And
Very sweet. Yes.
Yes, thank you. So I went to school for photography. I was planning on being a photojournalist. I knew that I loved shooting people specifically, and I liked the idea of traveling around and shooting them participating in cultural events in different parts of the country or the world. But as I got further into school and learned a little bit more about it, I knew that I wanted a little bit more control over the travel, and I knew I wanted my own business. And so weddings were such a good mix of that. There's still photojournalism, mixing the photographing people, celebrating a cultural event, but I was able to also kind of build out my own business, make sure I wasn't just like freelancing and having to travel all the time. And before that though, while I was in school, I was actually a dog groomer for a few years, which was my other creative career. I really enjoyed that too.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit more about, how long did you do it with just you, and it's you and your husband, correct?
Yes. David is the co-owner and lead videographer.
Was he with you from the get-go?
Yeah, so I started doing little sessions kind of on my own, family and stuff like that. And then he started second shooting with me basically. And so I kind of like tale as old as time, as far as you ask your husband to start second shooting with you. It's nice and convenient. I taught him, at the beginning, I taught him everything he knew about shooting and about camera math and everything. And now since then he's taken it, and now he has to teach me stuff all the time. But
tell us a little bit more about working with your spouse, right?
Yeah.
So people ask me all the time if I would ever work with my husband in the business. And I tell them, so before I was a photographer, I was a physical therapist for many years, and he's a physical therapist as well. So I always tell people I could work with him in a physical therapy clinic all day long. No problem being in the same place. But when it comes to the wedding day, I don't think it would work really well together. I'm very fast paced, gotta be quick on your feet, you gotta think ahead. And he is the kind of person that processes information
Yeah, yeah,
before
yeah.
he does things. He's like, he thinks about things and he wants to be perfect. I'm like, we don't got time for that. We gotta go. So I always tell people I would love to work with him in a physical therapy environment. In a wedding, not so much. Tell us about your experience working with your husband.
Oh my gosh, that's a good. I love that the mix of like personalities and just like
Yeah.
different situations. We definitely like there are moments when like our second shooters kind of joke like mom and dad are like fighting. We're really like snickering in the corner, like, how do you want to set up the toast? Well, I want them here. Well, like I need them over here, and just kind of like moments like that.
Mhm.
But it is nice as far as knowing, since he does primarily the videography and I'll do primarily the photography, it is kind of nice knowing what the other person needs, being able to kind of look across the room. It's nice being like, I don't want that camera on that tripod right there. That's going to be in the first dance
Oh,
shot, and having the ability to, yeah, to move that, or vice versa. Like, I need your second shooter to not be right there at the end of the aisle. They're going to be in the video, stuff like that. And so that's been really nice. My parents, as I was growing up, had their own business together, and so it's something I always kind of really wanted, but I never knew, it would happen. And so it was nice when David ended up being really interested in joining in the business.
I love it. That's great. So how long did you guys do it? Just the two of you before you start considering having a team?
Yeah, we did. Let's see. We shot our first wedding in 2016. We were photo only for a while. We added the videography at the start of 2019. And then it was 2020. Let's see, two or one? 2021. I was like, it just became 2024. 2021 is when that summer is when I put out applications for the first time for associate shooters.
So the first thing is, what made you add video as the first additional service?
Yes.
Because yeah, we do photo and video too, and I can tell you the reason we did it. I want to know the reason you did it.
Yes, yes, no, well, it was actually just kind of an interest of David. So he came from a songwriting background. When we met, he was like the front man of a band. He did all of their writing, like, and so once he got comfortable shooting, he liked the audio element of the videography. And so he really wanted to take the visual things that he had started to do and developed and then add the audio element. And so it was less of like a business strategy on that and more of just like something he ended up really enjoying and wanting to add in.
Love it. Yeah, we ended up adding video. One, because I found out was everybody's number one regret was not having that video
Yes.
after the wedding. Two, I you run into some people out there that don't know how to work together, unfortunately. As a photo and video team, we have to be very aware of each other. Like you were just saying, like, you can't be on each other's footage, and have to be able to work together, which for the most part you are able to do it. But I'm sure everybody has a story like that where something has happened. And I just didn't want to leave that to chance. I wanted to make sure that I have my own team that knew exactly how I wanted things done and how we could work together properly without having to interfere in each other's work at the end of the day. So, and then obviously, to be very clear and honest about it, I also know that there's more money coming in if you
Yeah.
offer more services. So, from a business standpoint, it just made it easier to have more control over around who is with me on the wedding day, capturing things, and then obviously making more money at the end of the day by offering more services. So,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree. And I feel like I feel like it's becoming more and more as each year goes by, people wanting both of them in-house if they can get it.
mhm, yeah. So tell us, when do you know it's time to add a team? What made you take that step and decided, okay, I'm going to start having more people working under my brand?
Ooh, yes, that's a good question. So for us, it was when we were turning down a lot of dates that we were already booked for. And this was, of course, like summer of 2021 is when I decided to finally do it. We were kind of somewhat post COVID, especially in Texas,
Mhm.
lots of weddings happening. And so we were turning down so many dates. We couldn't possibly do any more physically. We were already doing like the 50, just us on our own. And so then we decided, okay, well, we need to like bring on more people. It was a long process because of like everyone else who is curious about building associate team the trust and the control. And so I spent probably a year to a year and a half talking to like mentors, trying to figure out how to structure it, because I was so nervous about it. So I finally put out those applications eventually.
Yeah, so that's a huge thing that I think people have to overcome, right? When they're adding a team. So, what were your thought process? How did you overcome that fear of letting go of control,
Yeah.
right? And letting people. So, I again came from the healthcare industry where I was managing people, and I call it adult babysitting.
Yeah.
I'm very good at being responsible and accountable and making sure I go above and beyond, but I also understand you can expect that from everybody, right? You're going to find good people that have that, but you're also going to find a lot of people that don't care as much. It's not their business.
Yeah.
They just want to get that paycheck and move on to the next thing. So, how did you overcome the fear of letting go of control?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I feel like it was like a step-by-step process. The first thing was for me was finding how to structure it initially. So I was hearing different things. A lot of people wanted me to book the business, figure it out later. So it's just like book the date,
Mhm.
client, you'll find someone to shoot it. I could that my anxiety, like I could not, I just couldn't get over that wall. And so I finally talked to someone that had a different structure that I really liked, which was that they had their set team and then they would be able to assign them basically before they even had a consultation call. The person would know, they would know who would be shooting it, the client would know. And so I really liked that structure. So I was able to I basically just put out an application on Instagram, and I ended up that first time getting 15 applicants. And then kind of going through building out a good interview process. So initially I have this list of things that they need to do to apply in their initial email. From there, I have them send me multiple galleries, including, and I want to see the range. So one of
Yeah.
them is favorite gallery. One of them is like least favorite, like what you think is your worst gallery. And then another is like, send me a gallery that the day was just awful or the day was super challenging for whatever reason, rained all day or something like that.
Yeah.
So to see a range from there, and then going from there, we'll do like in person kind of like coffee dates and interviews, and we'll ask people to shoot X amount of weddings with us before their first associate date. And then you could do that with engagement sessions too if you feel like it's needed. Ask them to assist you on one or more engagement sessions, which kind of helps with building that trust and the comfort level, seeing how they talk to people and interact in person.
Yeah. What were some of the prerequisites you had in there before people could even apply? Do you remember that?
Yes, so let's see. I know one of the things I asked for was 2 years of wedding experience, if possible. And so I know one of the strategies could be to find like people just beginning or even college kids and kind of train them up. I haven't done it that way before. I'm mostly am just like, oh man, when can I find the time to like teach
Yeah.
someone the camera from the start and so I look for people who already have a couple of years experience. Is the main thing. And then I think as far as time and as far as experience, that was the main one.
Yeah.
And wedding specifics. Go ahead.
I know one of the things I asked was equipment. Like, do you have the equipment to do
Oh,
it?
yes, yes. So that is, I do have them list their equipment. You're right on that because I want to make sure they have the right lenses. If we're like, oh, we
Mhm.
only have a 35, I'm like, okay, well, it's not, our style's different. And yeah,
Yeah.
equipment is another main one.
Perfect. And then how do you know? So you have all this information now. They listed everything. They gave you all their galleries. You did some face-to-face interview. How do you know? How do you find the best people to join your team now that you have all this information?
Yes, that's a good question. I feel like something one of my mentors told me once that's always stuck with me is that basically like attitude over everything. And so,
Yes.
yes, yes. So finding like the people that have the best attitude, that are open to really supporting your business, that aren't very like, you're just it's fine. You can eventually, you assume people are not going to be with you forever, but it's finding the people where you're not just like a quick stepping stone. They are really excited to shoot with you for a while. We've had 2 of our associates are still the original associates from the very first application. They've been with us forever, and a lot of it is just a very like selfless, like championing attitude coming from them.
How big is your team now?
It is. So let's see. We have one actually associate videographer. The videography pool is definitely smaller. We had 4 associate photographers. We went down to 3, and then we actually just had someone leave. So we have 2 right now. And put out a new
I
application.
saw that.
Yes, and so we're gonna have another 1 or 2 coming up. And then so we'll be back at 3 or 4. And then on the back end we have a video editor, a photo editor, and an assistant.
Yes, yeah, we have 6 photographers and 4 videographers in our team, so I definitely know.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need your tips on finding the videography talent because like it's not a
It's
lot.
it's definitely harder. There's less people, just like you said. It's a lot less people out there. But again, finding those. My whole goal when I was building a team was to find people, like you said, that have the right attitude,
Yeah.
the right demeanor and personality. Because I can teach anybody anything about photography. I can
Yes.
teach you off camera flash. I can teach you the logistics of the wedding day, but I cannot teach you how to be accountable, how to be a good
Yes.
person, how to care for my clients and go above and beyond. Like those are not things I can teach you. So, I rather hire somebody who I know will represent my brand well and will be, just going above and beyond and really caring about things than
Yes.
somebody that's really a good photographer and have good skills. So I would exchange that any day.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, that's such a good point. Being able to teach those like technical skills, but that like inherent like responsibility, being on time or early, all of that stuff, just being part of
Exactly.
who you are.
Yeah. What did you find is the best way to train a new member of your team?
Hmm. That is a good question. So, kind of starting because who I'm starting with already usually have a couple of years of experience. I don't have to go too far into the technical side of things. I kind of expect from the beginning that they already have that down. I'll have all my associates are going to get all the second shooting dates first before anybody else. So, oftentimes those are filled up with the team. And so, just kind of being able to shoot all the weddings, including the ones that I'm leading together, I feel like makes for just a really good kind of solid team. Same with our videography associate, photography associate crossover. They're of course working together all of the time too. And so that makes for like a nice synchronized team. I feel like probably less good than you at teaching I'm like so nervous about like teaching like the technical skills beyond like so I kind of like come in with like, okay, you already need to have all this under your
Yeah.
belt.
I'm
And then
ready.
show you. Yeah. And then it's just about them learning my preferences and like my style of communication, style of posing, all that.
Perfect. Do you find like you train them more like on just on the job then, like on the go? They're coming with you, they're second shooting for you, and they're learning that way.
Yeah. It's a lot of on the job learning. I've noodled around with doing little like just kind of like one-off sessions before, like just for the team, like just kind of like behind the scenes, our own shooting to experiment and stuff. But
Mhm.
so far I've done a lot of like on the job training.
Yes, I've done some like small classes for the team, or like not everybody that came in knew how to use off camera flash and things like that.
Yes.
Which again, it's not a big deal, but I feel like it does elevate images a little bit. So we just had small classes where we just got together and we practice, and I want them to feel confident if I'm not there that they can do it on their own, and then you feel like they still can have a good quality product
Yes.
for us to work on.
I love that. I don't know if I can also ask you a
Of
question, but
course.
do you like with your off-camera flash and when you initially find people, because I feel like it's almost becoming more common that people are just doing on camera. Do you like to supply their flashes or do you ask them to get their off cameras?
Well, that's part of the equipment, the basic equipment that I feel like you need to have to shoot a wedding. If it's on your camera or off the camera, that's a whole other
Yes.
story, but you need to have flash. You need to
Yeah,
have good, reliable flash. There's a lot of venues that we shoot at where you cannot count on natural light. So, we shoot all over the place, you need to have it. You don't even know, even from a getting ready situation, where you're going to be, how dark it is. So that's something that people need to understand how to use, and have the equipment for sure.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, so are people that work on your team, do they still have their own businesses, or they have to only work for you?
Yes, that's a good question. They do have their own businesses still. One of the things in when I kind of put out the applications of who it might be a good fit for, usually it's people who they can have their own business, but they don't have time for the back end stuff. So whether it's they have kids, they are running their own and can't take on like anymore, they only want to take certain dates themselves or whatever it might be. They don't want to do the consultations with clients, have the whole, do the editing, all that stuff. They
Mhm.
just want to go out and enjoy shooting on the weekends. And so all of our associates still have their own business. Actually, our videography associate doesn't. He's like starting to build his. And so since everyone is a contractor, that works really well. I've also looked into potentially like salaried employment at some point, in which case then there might be more of like a non-compete like situation
Yeah.
have to talk about.
Yes, yes. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider when you're building a team. So understanding that if you want the experience, you most likely are going to be getting somebody that has a business already. Maybe they just don't have the volume, right, that you can offer to them. So how do you navigate conflicts when it comes to dates? Let's say they somebody, or how early do you assign a wedding to somebody? So let's say you have a wedding in May that you already assigned to a certain person, and then now they get a last minute booking on their own business for May. How do you navigate that?
Yes. Oh, that is a good question. So we have them sign a contract when they first sign on, and that in that contract it says that they're at least open to taking dates 12 months in advance. And then I ask everybody that before they send me their portfolios too. Like, does this work for you? Like, you need to be able to be open this far in advance. And then when a date, so kind of like our process as far as dates, when someone inquires, I'll send the team the date and the venue. They can let me know whether they're available or not, or whether they'd like to shoot it or not. Going from there, the client will know in that initial email before they even schedule their consultation who their lead photographer will be. And then once they schedule a call, I'll double check that person's still available. And once they sign on, I send them a deposit. And so they're locked into the date. I've never had, only once have I actually ever had someone back out of the date. I've never had it otherwise, but someone got a kind of like a bachelor's like celebrity style like pot-
Hmm.
potential to shoot that. And so I understood why she wanted to take it for herself.
Right.
So that was my first time kind of working through that, but it was a smooth transition. She'd already done their engagement session. I let them know like, okay, we're transitioning over to this lead photographer. If you want another engagement session, like we'll do that on the house if you just want to be able to spend time with her before the wedding, to feel comfortable and everything like that. And so it went over really smoothly. They ended up not wanting another engagement session. They were fine with it. The wedding day, they were like really happy. And so it was a little scary on my end. Like I was like, what if they're going to be so mad and like what, but it ended up being fine.
That's good. Do you have your teammate meet with the client themselves, or you are the one who does the consultation? How Talk to me about the logistics of connecting them with the team.
I do all of the consultations, and then they can do an engagement session or a bridal session with their lead photographer. And then we do a planning call a few weeks out from wedding day, and usually that's when videography will be on that call. It's more important for videography to be on that call because usually they haven't really had much of a touch point before then. And then ideally both other team members will be on the call, photo and video, but I don't require it. And then the couple knows too, the planning call will be with us. The other team members will get the date, and if they can join, they will. But
Yeah,
it's mostly for me just not trying to manage too many calendars.
yeah, yeah. Do you have an editor, or are you still the one that edits everything?
No, we do have an editor on both sides. So I have an editor on the photo side. I'll usually do the sneak peeks, and so that'll kind of be like the base and the anchor edits, and then I'll send them over to her. And then same thing with videography. We'll send everything to our video editor, and then he sends it back for approval. We look at color. We were always did color on video ourselves until very recently. He's finally taken that over. We're like, okay, he's doing a great job. We're like, oh, okay, you're doing better than us, which is usually what happens when I hand something off. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you're more talented than me.
Perfect. So how much work do you actually delegate to the team? What are they responsible for in, from the whole client experience process? How much do they do and how much do you do?
Yeah, on the front end, I'm doing the consultations. From there, if the couple books, I will connect them immediately via email. And so they're expected to like say hi, like, say I'm really excited about your wedding. I can't wait. Here are these things that I'm looking forward to. Just kind of make that connection. On the photo side, if they schedule the engagement or bridal session, they can go from there. I still like to kind of help with location planning. So we kind of collaborate on that, and then it's up to the associate. They'll schedule them because they take care of their own schedule. They go out, they'll shoot the session, and they'll get me the images by the next day, so I can go ahead and do a sneak peek for that too. And so going from there, that also goes to our editor. And so basically on the front end, the responsibilities are primarily client communication via email if it's needed, being on any of the calls, like if they're available, I'll let them know when they're happening. And then the just execution of the shooting, and getting me all the images in like a super timely manner. And then on the back end, it's all of the editing, and then I'm doing primarily all of the calls, communication, admin work, stuff like that.
Got it. So we're going to go very logistics now and try to help people understand how to do these things. So what program do you guys use for them to get the images to you? So let's say you're not in the same location. They're shooting by themselves. You have maybe two teammates taking care of a wedding. So you can't go grab those cards right away. How do you get the images from them?
Ooh, that is a good question. So when it comes to engagement sessions or smaller sessions, we will have them just drop it via Dropbox or WeTransfer, and that usually works perfectly fine. When it's a wedding, everyone is expected to be in Austin currently. We actually just had someone ask if they could apply from Houston, so I would think about this more then. But in Austin, they're close enough to drive, so we will actually just drive the next day and get the SD cards. It is an option for people to mail them because they are backing up on their own cards. So that's a possibility. I've never tried that. It seems like nerve-wracking. So we go pick them up physically. But we actually just built out a NAS system. And so that is, if for anyone who doesn't know what a NAS system is, it's just like kind of like multiple, like there are like 6 hard drives. If one of them fails, everything's backed up to the next. It's a really robust backup system. And so one of the options potentially there is to set up a cloud system, have everyone create an account, and potentially be able to access the NAS. We're still like working on building that out. But then if that could work, then they can just drop everything directly to the NAS system, which would eliminate the driving and the pickup, which would be great. So working on that, but currently we'll just drive the next day and pick them up.
Yeah, we are. So I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and anywhere here for me to go, it's a good like 30 to 40 minute
Yeah.
drive, which, it's hard. So we don't actually go get the cards. If they're close by, they'll drop them off on their way home. But other than that, we use My Air Bridge.
Oh, I haven't used my AirBridge. Okay.
Yeah, so my average is really, I feel like there's a good amount of space in there for, the average sessions. And then even the pricing for large storage is really affordable. So
Yeah.
we have just used that. They get home, they will just upload it into my AirBridge and then I'll just grab it on this end. So it might be a good option if you start having teammates that are from
Yes.
out. So
Oh, I love that. I'm going to check that out.
yeah, that's definitely became a helpful program for us to use with the team. So
Oh, I love that. Does it work for is it big enough for the video footage too, or back?
For the video, usually they'll just give me the link to the Dropbox where they stored it, and then the editor will start working on that, and they can get rid of it eventually. But I think it does work for the video too. It might just take longer for it to upload the whole thing in there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely try it out.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I will. Oh,
Do you build timelines for your
yeah.
weddings yourself?
Yes, yeah. So I'll we have like the of course like the questionnaire, and then I'll take that combined with the planner's kind of master timeline and synthesize it into just the photo video timeline. We have a virtual assistant who's also local and also second shoots with us, which is really nice that she knows how we operate. And so she'll go ahead and kind of build out that timeline for me. And then I'll look it over, add all of my notes into it or final tweaks. And then usually from there, it's pretty good to go.
Perfect. What are some of the things that your team is not allowed to do while they're working under your brand? So let's talk a little bit about the boundaries of, again, having people that have their own businesses work under your brand, and how do you kind of set up the boundaries for that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So I do have an agreement that is basically like a code of conduct that everyone signs in addition to the contract, and that lists out everything really simply, all of these things that you're expected to do or are not advised to do. And so some of the things are like, of course, like you're not promoting your own business while you're there. You're not like handing out business cards or sharing your QR code or whatever it might be. You're there representing our business while you're at our weddings, and things right afterwards, like not sharing any of the images until our full gallery is delivered. Not if when you do share the images, not tagging anybody or not tagging the couple or the vendors, anything like that. And then some common sense things like, you have to dress nicely. You can't show up in sweatpants and whatever it might be. And stuff
Things
like
we
that.
shouldn't have to say, but we have to say.
Exactly. Exactly. Everything's laid out in there.
Back to the adult babysitting, right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So they can still use the images, just have to wait until you deliver the full gallery and no tagging of any clients and vendors, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do let them use the images just without that kind of bridge of the tags or sharing anything before the client might have seen it.
So without naming names, has there ever been a bad situation with an associate, like with a team member?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. We've been really lucky. I feel this way with wedding horror stories too. I feel like I never have good answers for like wedding horror stories. I feel like the worst like moment was when I had the one date kind of back out, mostly because that was just stressful for me.
Mhm.
But as far as like client facing or anything that like clients are dealing with, we've luckily just been like smooth sailing.
Perfect. I
Yes.
think that probably goes along with how you chose them, and focusing on their personality and them as people first versus them as photographers and videographers first. That probably played into you not having to have any issues.
Yes. So far, so good.
Perfect. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, tell us from a transparency standpoint, like how much did your bottom line increase from like you just being the two of you in the beginning to having a team? How much of a change there was on your gross income when you added a team?
Yes, that's it. The first year they started shooting weddings, which so I put the application in 2021. So it actually probably didn't start shooting until 2022. They initially brought in 40,000 that first year. And I actually need to go back and calculate what they have so far for 2024. But that was the first year, and then it's been like steadily just kind of increasing since then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. definitely an advantage of being able to do more. Obviously, that comes with more responsibility
Yeah,
on your
yeah,
end and a little bit of anxiety
yeah,
by
yeah.
having by having other people out there with
Yes,
your name. But it can definitely come in handy when you can help more people. You can be saying yes and serving more people. So it's definitely if you choose the right people, I feel like it's a great way to help others and make some extra income too.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have your team sign a contract just at the beginning of the year that is for the whole year, or do you have them sign a contract every time they have an assignment?
I just have the annual contract. So with the second shooters, I still usually do a date by date contract, but with the associates, it'll be signed at the beginning of the year, or whenever they're starting, and
Mhm.
then just kind of annually check in and re-sign because some stuff will have to be updated in there too, like wages and stuff will increase, and so.
Yeah,
But usually, it's just the overall annual contract.
perfect. What did you feel like were the main advantages and disadvantages of having a team?
Yes. Ooh, let's see. Okay. While I was thinking things through, I was like, okay, this it's kind of cute. For the positives, I ended up having three S's, and for the cons, I ended up having three C's, which I'm now
Ah, love it.
forward. But the positives I felt like were scaling, of course, so being able to take more dates, scale your revenue, and just kind of going from there, having people that can take those dates that you're already booked for or dates that you might otherwise just like want off. For example, July and August are super hot in Texas in the summer. We won't shoot them, but our associate team is still up for shooting them. And so they'll shoot July and August while we're like doing our kind of summer vacation thing.
Chilling.
Yeah, chilling in the air conditioning. So, but scaling, you can only do so many dates yourself. And I think one of the things I think is strange about having is being in the photo video side of weddings is that everyone else is expected to have a team. DJs are expected to have a team. Planners are expected to have a team. Florists are expected to have a team. But for some reason, photographers and videographers, it's like you're expected to
Mm,
be like a solo show. And I feel like it's so weird. And so I feel like being normalizing photo video, having more of a team, and being able to scale in the way that other businesses scale can be definitely a positive. The other thing is like service, and so like that's my second S is the service, and so like instead of being just you and saying, okay, I've shot at X amount of venues in the city, or I have X amount of years of experience, you can look at it as more of a collective. So between all of us, we have 25 years of experience. We've shot at every venue in the city. We've shot at like all these different like unique locations, since you can communicate if there's somewhere new, you're like, I'm shooting an engagement session here, what
mhm.
the photo policy a team member will know versus having to track it down. And the same thing works with the backup when couples ask like, well, what's the backup if you get sick, or can't
Yeah,
make it to the day? It's so nice to be able to be like, well, we have an established team that would step in versus like, well, I'll find somebody, like, or I have a network, which is good too, but it's nice to be like, these are our team members that work with us all the time that would step in.
mhm.
And so I like the elevation of service from that. And then the other one, actually, that would fall under my third S, which is the security, which is being able to have that backup, to have people that know how to run your systems, to have your like business godparents who are
Mhm.
like even on the back end. Okay, you get sick or something happens and you need someone to access your hard drives or that knows how you edit or whatever it might be, having other
Perfect.
hands on that. The
Love it.
cons, yes, yes. The cons, I would say we talked about a bit, which is like control, just like dealing with your own anxiety, and being able to kind of like give up the control. There is a lot, like I feel like as artists feeling like, artists are told there's only one there's only your perspective, your voice is so unique, and that's, I feel like while that might be true, it doesn't mean that that perspective is the best or that other people can't mimic that style and perspective. And so kind of just broadening out of kind of that box. The other thing would be like the next con in the C's would be being the CEO. And so like for me, I'm very like introverted. I'm not assertive at all. And there's a lot of things in like the leadership personality type that you're like, okay, well, I'm not that person. So like, how could I be a CEO? How could I lead a team or teach anyone anything or have I'll just do it myself. You're like, I'll just do it myself. I don't want to worry about anybody else. But I think kind of trying to shift that mindset and just giving it a shot, because I think there's definitely space for us and a need for the more like softer introverted personality
Mhm.
types in like leadership and CEO roles. And then the other thing is the other con would be communication. So being a little bit more available for that communication if someone, needs something or has a quick question, or making sure you're on top of those emails between client and associates, checking in on that, just having a little bit more responsibility in with that communication side of things.
Yes, I love
Cool.
it. 3 S's and 3 C's. I love it. Uh, Tell me, I wanna hear a little bit more about what does the conversation sound like when you're trying to sell the team, when you're not gonna be the one there? So if I'm the client, we're having a consultation, and I say, how do I make sure how do I know that, it's gonna be okay, that I'm gonna have the same quality of work or the same kind of pictures if it's not you? Like, I really wish that you were the one shooting my wedding.
Yes, that is a good question. So that initial email is a little bit helpful in that I'll say, "Congratulations, we're available for your wedding on X date. You'll be working with our lead photographer, Tara," or something. So I try to like set it up before they even book the
Mhm.
call. And if for some reason that freaks them out, they might not book the call, but like normally they'll book it initially and like learn a little bit more. But when we're on the call, we're kind of the sales call or the consultation call is essentially just like the same as when I do it for myself, but I'll make sure I'll be like, and then did you see the part that like Tara would be your main associate? Like I'll let your main photographer, you'll have your engagement session with them, all that stuff. I'll let them ask any questions on that. But the process is explaining that the process is exactly the same. The editing is exactly the same. We're still your editors. They've been with us for X amount of years. And then a lot of times with an associate, they'll ask for like a gallery. And so I'll always send them like a full gallery from
Mhm.
their associate. And I found I used to let them choose. I used to have bios and profiles for every associate, and everyone who was available, I would let them kind of decide. And then I found, at least for us, people were having like decision fatigue, and they would just be kind of paralyzed by it and be like, "I don't
Yeah,
know, who do you think has a personality that fits mine?" And so instead, I started being like, "Here's who your person will be." And that started going over faster, and people were signing on faster.
perfect. What are some of the things that you do to help your team feel appreciated and kind of, be willing to be with you and go above and beyond? What are some of the ways that you found that you can show them that appreciation?
Well, that is a good question. I feel like my biggest priority with the team is like protecting them. So like they come first for me. If a client said something or was being a difficult client or anything like that, it would be for me the team would come first. And I have no problem like if a client is like, "Actually, I want to do this like session in 2 days and I have this idea and like I expect you to do that," I'll like message the team, be like, "Do you want to?" I have no problem saying no, just like saying no to the client, like they come first. So just keeping that team mentality and that like we're kind of like uh, protecting each other, making sure that like everyone is happy in that sense. When it comes to like more of like fun stuff, like outings and things, I'm actually bad at that. I just did my feedback form and like all of our team members were like, "We'd like to like hang out more." But in my mind, I'm like, when you have a corporate job and they invite you to like go golfing or whatever, you hate it and you don't want to go. So like I never want to like make the team members do anything, but it turns out they do want to hang out. So I need to plan more things like that. But if you have any ideas, I'll take those.
No, it's always good. I feel like we work alone a lot as creatives and photographers, so it's they probably crave that connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely. We do try to do a team dinner every year at the end of the year to kind of celebrate the year, and I invite significant others as well, so they can bring their person. We can get to hang out a little bit, but there's many things I'm sure that we can both be doing more and
Yes.
more of.
Yes. I love that. I love having the significant others too, so they don't feel like I have to go to them
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
So that was a great conversation. I really appreciated you sharing all your insight with us and talking to everybody a little bit more about how to grow a team, some of the strategies, some of the reasoning behind it, some of the pros and cons. So tell us, where can everybody find you so they can follow you and see your beautiful work?
Yes. We are everywhere at Carhart Photography. So it's CARHART photography on all the places: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And then if anyone ever is considering building an associate team and they're like, oh, I want to see that code of conduct agreement, or I want to take a look at what that contract looks like, things like that, you can feel free to message me or email me too, which is also hello@carhartphotography.com. And I'm happy to like share those resources.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us today. I hope to see you soon on our next episode, and we'll be sharing more amazing strategies with you guys to help you fall in love with the business out of your business. Bye.